Hello everyone, Zelarinth here, and I have just finished the Rinascita update for the Wuthering Waves 2.0, and I thought I'd just give my feedback on what I thought about it. And one big thing with it is I am absolutely loving the location and kind of the architecture and environment with it. Definitely a huge step up on that. I know a big thing that a lot of people, myself included, and not me, not as much, but a lot of other people complained about was how much more grayish and less color there was in the original area. It's not the fact that it's an apocalyptic area. I mean, that's kind of just the world in general in this game, but it still felt like it was missing a lot of color. That has all been added in this. It's got a lot of it here. And it's also a little bit more upbeat in the area as well, even though it's kind of that setting. So the people that like that kind of feeling, it has a lot of that here. The biggest thing is it's heavily inspired, from what I can tell, off of, the Italians, more specifically like a Roman Vatican feel, especially with the church. But also it has a big Venice feel because it has like the gondola boats and a lot of the water areas here. So overall, the new environment is pretty amazing. Now, I have not done heavy exploration into it too much yet. I've only had done basically the main quest areas, as well as getting to the area to get the gear for Colada here. Now, one thing that I could kind of say is a nitpick is Colada. You could immediately pick her up right at the beginning. Her banner's available. Of course, you're going to pull on her if you want her, which is what I did. So I pulled, I received her. You are not able to get her fully leveled up until you actually get here to pick up her materials. And so it's not too bad because they added the ability to go like have it tell you exactly where those materials are. And I believe in just the first little bit of area of the map, I was able to collect enough to get her to max level that way. So it's just a little nitpick that you can't really use her until you get here immediately. And one of the big negatives of that is because I want to basically just use her for the entire main story. And to kind of add on to that, when it came to her best in slot gear or her new echoes that you want to get, now you can use the normal glacial, but I want to get the best one so she feels as comfortable as possible, because you got to think most people we've already got fully kitted out and geared units like Genshi and that. And so in order to make her be able to compete, you want to at least get her main best in class slot set. And one of the negatives of that is while you can get it right after you get here, just kind of looking at the map, the set comes from the area all the way over here up in the top right. So at the beginning of the game, the first thing I did was I just immediately book it for this place so that I could farm her best in class slot item right here. Just a small nitpick. I know a lot of people probably just threw on the millions of pieces they had for the glacial set that they may have already had farmed for their Zhanzi unit. So it's probably just a small nitpick for me, because she's completely usable if you use that other set as well. It's just I like to get that at least best in class slot for her. Now, the big thing is even though I got that set, her substats on it are absolute trash. So maybe somebody that actually has good substats on a glacial set still has her built better than I did, but that's just a nitpick on it for me. And when it comes to the story now, so the story in this game, I'm not a heavy story person when it comes to the games I play. But I did pay attention to this one quite a bit because I did stream the entire story from the beginning to the end. I've had to do it over a couple streams, especially here at the very ending because I had internet issues. So I had like 3 streams back to back as my internet crashed. But overall, the story is quite great. Some of it I felt was a little bit predictable in the beginning. It kind of gives you that the feeling of it. I don't want to really spoil anything on the story, but it's kind of like it's in that Roman setting and with kind of the whole church setting of like the Vatican. They have like almost like that leader guy is kind of like a pope of sorts in terms of what he is to this. So you can kind of already get the idea of the feeling of the setting in the story. Now, the direction it goes, maybe it's not as predictable. But overall, I think the story was great. Had a decent amount of characters that were introduced, especially the ones that we know that we will be getting in the future, being able to pull for. And some that I don't believe we know about being pullable in the future, but could potentially be ones just based on what they are. But then again, there's been units that we've had introduced on the other island, like Scar, that we haven't been able to pull for. So who knows if all of them are going to be pullable in the future or only select ones. We'll just kind of have to see with that. But overall, great story. Has a lot of new stuff in it that makes it interesting. It had kind of like a spy type deal where you're kind of sneaking around in the area. A lot of good cutscenes. And an overall great environment, and I think the voice acting was significantly better than it was in the previous game, especially in the initial beginning. I know that was a big complaint a lot of people had. Me, like I said, story's never been a big thing, so voice acting has also never been a big thing, but it was very noticeable in the original game, and it has had significant improvements at this point. So definitely great there. And then the characters are all great and unique. Definitely fit the environment as well in this kind of atmosphere. But overall, good there. Now, when it comes to the actual characters that I've gotten to play so far, Corlata, you get to play in the trial. Even if you haven't pulled her, you get to get a trial version of her to use. And she feels really good to play for anybody that was questioning on whether or not to pull over her. Now, my main unit that I've pretty much built heavily around is Genshi. And then I have, like, her core unit was... I forget how to say her name, but Zenzi, the painting girl. Then you have the healer. And then my other team that I have when I have my two main teams is just the free lightning unit we had, as well as Yinlin. So I have the lightning side of things. So my Genshi's basically lost her main support if I have the two teams, and Corlata feels extremely good with the whole team. And it has a very good, like, I wouldn't consider myself good at this game, but I feel like it's really easy to play to her skill. Just doing her skills, rotating into your support to your healer, or your healer to your support back to her. It just all flows nice and smoothly. The ultimates are available. Like, I don't think you even have to heavily build her with, like, the correct stats to really utilize her kit. I mean, it definitely feels like you're going to want to get a lot of crit rate on her, because she seems to rely quite heavily on it, especially if you get her signature weapon like I did, because that has a lot of crit damage on it, and a lot of her damage seems to come from that. So other than getting that high enough crit rate to hit the crit damage, feels like she's going to be quite easy to build, and she's quite easy to play. You also get to play the other girl from the troop that's in the box at the beginning of the game. It's just a little bit of a trial you get for her. I didn't play her too heavily other than just to kind of test her out a bit. I did not plan to pull for her, but I did want to just to try her out in the trial. Definitely feels like she's going to be a very, very good AoE unit on the Havoc side of things that can work around that, pulling the mobs together and just being able to wipe out pretty quickly. But other than that, I don't have much I can say on her, because I didn't play her too heavily when we had her as a trial. I just wanted to keep playing with Corlata. But felt really good. Like, the little bit I played with her felt really good. The mechanics were great, definitely unique compared to what we already have. So those who are interested in her, definitely going to be a good pull choice there. So I'm kind of excited to see what we see with the other units like Zani and Phoebe, as well as the one spoiler type unit that you meet at the end of the game. That's definitely my next must-have unit. We'll kind of have to see how that works out. But overall, that is kind of that. I'm trying to think if there's really anything else I have on it. Everything's been great. The music's definitely a top step up. Definitely more upbeat. I do like that. You can kind of hear it in the background right now, I believe. It's a little light because I had the volume turned down. But definitely a lot more upbeat on the music. Feels really good within the game. It fits the environment. That's the big thing. It really fits the environment in all the areas in the battle music. It's like a whole new score for this area. So, but yeah, that's pretty much most of my thoughts. I do plan to make this where I make content this on a regular basis, kind of add it into my content schedule. As now I've kind of Girls Frontline, I'm getting to that end game point where now it's just going to be like a couple videos, like 2 to 3 videos a week on that. And then you cycle in the other games. So just like my other games, I'm going to try and cycle in a couple of videos from this a week. Just keep rotating it as new content comes in, because it's definitely going to be one of the games I can see me playing for quite a while, because they just keep adding to it. Kuro Games has got a really good reputation on their previous games. They're not as greedy in terms of other gacha games. Now, all gacha games are greedy in the sense that it's a gacha game, but they definitely are more favorable to people. And so that's one reason I definitely want to stick with them as well. And I will continue to stream the story as more stuff comes out for it. But that's pretty much it. And that's just kind of my initial thoughts on it. I'll probably give a more in-depth video in the future as I complete the rest of the stuff on the island. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.